Good afternoon to everybody. Thanks for clicking on to this verification of the 2024 Atlantic hurricane season forecast versus the reality, what actually took place. But before we continue with the video, I do encourage you to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Coming up tomorrow, Global Weather Report live at 4 p.m. There is so many things going on. Major snowfall, Great Lakes of the United States, South Korea, China, and also Thai floods. We're going to be looking at other aspects as well. So I hope you can join me live at 4 p.m. UK time tomorrow for the live stream. So, what was the forecast? It was released back at back in April, I believe it was. Let me just double quickly check when that actually took place. I should know, given the fact that I'm doing this video today. But it was released back on the 22nd of April, and it was expected to be a hyperactive season based on various parameters, including record sea surface temperatures. We had what appeared to be a developing La Nina. We've not really seen that develop as such, but there has, like, all the models were kind of honing in on this really potentially record-breaking season. So my numbers were based on the various parameters. You can look back at this forecast at your leisure. It's on markvoganweather.com. But I expected, it's granted slightly higher than what actually took place, but I think the majority of forecasts out there went actually too high. But total named storms was 23 to 26, hurricanes 13 to 16, and majors I had 7. And what I actually wrote very, very briefly, you can see here, the above predicted numbers are based on the developing La Nina in the Pacific with less shear in the upper levels of the atmosphere. The SST profile of the Atlantic with cool over warm supports rising within the main development region, while a slightly stronger Bermuda high with sinking may be present over the cooler waters to the north, especially as the season enters August. The African wave train is likely to be energetic after what could be a dusty start to the 2024 season. Developing La Ninas have been known to spread large amounts of Saharan dust across the Atlantic June and July, which suppresses activity some. If this is the case, I expect this to die down as we head into August and September. 2024 season is expected to turn busy through August and September, extending into early October. Of particular concern is the Caribbean and the Gulf of Mexico, which may have a lot of activity late August through mid-October when ocean heat content peaks and depth of 28 Celsius waters are deepest, enhanced by the loop current. So, I suspect majors Category 3 or greater, which could focus on the area east-northeast of the leewards through the Caribbean, up through the Gulf towards Texas, or north of the islands towards Florida. An area stretching from Houston to Miami is particularly vulnerable this year, and there may be 2 to 4 Category 3 or greater threats to this area. Strength and exact position of the subtropical mid-Atlantic ridge, the Bermuda Azores High, which will be critical, is determining the track and therefore intensity of systems roaming the western Atlantic basin. From the Carolinas to New York to New England, as well as the Canadian Maritimes, 2 or 3 systems could threaten from the upper end tropical storm to Category 1 hurricane. From Mexico's Yucatan down to Belize, Honduras, and Nicaragua, the main threat likely comes late season, late October into November, where 1 or 2 majors may threaten. Now, it has to be said that there is several pieces of this information that actually has proved pretty accurate indeed. The threat to the Gulf of Mexico between Houston down to South Florida certainly came and had merit. We did have the downward turn of activity due to increased shear. We had the significant dry air. The MJO was in an unfavourable phase during the month of August. So the time frame slightly out, it has to be said. I expected it to become busy between August through September, extending into mid-October. But obviously October shut down. We had a very, very active start. Beryl became the first and earliest Category 5 hurricane on record. We did obviously have the downward trend during the month of August. We've seen the intertropical convergence zone going unusually far north. That then allowed systems to move off Africa further north into slightly colder waters compared to what would be conducive. So therefore, we've seen systems falling apart. We had a lot of African dust at the unusual time of August as opposed to earlier in the season. June, July tends to be dusty, tends to dissipate as we progress through the month of August and beyond. The threat within the Gulf of Mexico was did hold true. We also seen the threat late on within the Caribbean itself. So obviously we did have a couple of major systems develop within the Caribbean late on in the season. Between Central America, for example, we did see several systems make impact. So in terms of the overall numbers, this is a tweet here by Phil Klotzbach of CSU. They put out their forecast back on the 4th of April with their numbers showing 23 named systems on June 11th, 23 named storms. Then that number actually increased from the 9th of July to 25. Then when they processed their thinking during the issue on the 6th of August, their number went down by 2 to 23. So overall, there was 18 named systems. We had 77.25 named storm days. Hurricanes, we had 11 hurricane days. We had 37.50. We had major hurricanes, 5. Major hurricane days was 11.5, and accumulated cyclone energy was 162, the average being 123. And the average, by the way, for named storms is 14.4, named storm days 69.4, hurricanes 7.2, named hurricane days, 27.0. So all these figures are above the average, if you notice. And then if we look back to the article that I wrote back in August, this was the numbers, and I didn't produce this forecast. Once I put out the information, put out the numbers, I stuck by it and I didn't change it. And I think obviously the numbers are a little on the high side of 23 to 26 versus the 18 that developed. In terms of hurricanes, there was 11 that formed, so slightly higher on that. And then major hurricanes, it was 5 as opposed to 7. But all in all, actually, when you look back at the forecast itself, wasn't bad. Actually, I'm quite pleased with that. And it has to be said that I will produce a 2025 Atlantic hurricane season forecast probably sometime in April next year. And I will be doing tropical updates and outlooks every Saturday next year if all goes well. So that is just to let you know that there will be a hurricane forecast next year once again. I also want to quickly touch on the La Nina situation. So Nina Region 3.4, which is the area that NOAA and the Bureau of Meteorology look at. So this is the Central Pacific region, equatorial region, where the sea surface temperatures have been hovering at between a half and a full degree below average. The temperatures in this region have been bouncing up and down in recent times. Slight warming trend from the beginning of November through the latter half of November due to the Mann-Julian oscillation being over the Pacific. That distorted the surface winds, and therefore we actually seen slight warming taking place as a consequence of westerly winds as opposed to easterly winds. Westerly winds tend to allow the surface and the subsurface to warm. When you've got easterly winds, that tends to allow cooling to take place within Nina Region 3.4. But notice here a slight drop in temperature by a few points here, really over the last 7 days. And the reasons for that is the MJO has moved out of the Pacific back into the Indian Ocean, and by doing so, the rising motion over the Indian Ocean sinking over the Pacific, winds blow from high pressure to low pressure. So essentially, you've got high pressure over the equatorial Pacific, you've got low pressure over the Indian Ocean, that then created more stronger easterly trade winds, and that has been allowing the temperature within the Nino region 3-4 to actually cool over the last week, and that's likely to continue through the next 7 days. If you look at the sea surface temperature anomalies, you can see that we've got weak La Nina conditions extending from South America all the way to the west of the date line here. So we are seeing slight cooling taking place in the Nino region 3.4. In terms of the area closest to South America, Nino region 1.2, this is the current temperature trend, and you can see it too was actually warming back above 0 Celsius. We're actually seeing a sharp rise in temperature during the month of November. From November 1st, we had nearly a degree and a half below normal. By the time we reached the week 3 of November, it was actually above average. Now we're seeing a slight drop off here also, and likely that is again due to that stronger easterly trade wind associated with the MJO back over the Indian Ocean. So I hope you've enjoyed today's video. I hope you're enjoying the content here in the channel. Continue to see the numbers grow, both views as well as subscriptions. So let me know in the comment section below, did you enjoy today's video? Did you enjoy the tropical outlooks, the forecast, the coverage? I hope so. And like I said, leave a comment below. Hope you can join me tomorrow for the Global Weather and Climate Report live stream at 4 p.m. UK time. And I'll see you next time with more weather. Bye for now.